gamer. Okay, so Ansana, I'm going to jump straight in. As an English language teacher who also loves gaming, would you say that gaming can help you improve your English? And if so, why?
So, apart from being a teacher, I'm also a language learner. And for me, a lot of the things that I tell my students, like, it's okay if you make mistakes. When I am learning a language, I'm really hard on myself and I want to be 100% perfect. So, there's a difference between what I tell my students and how I feel about my progress. But what I like about gaming is that you're really motivated and you have a lot of pressure because you're doing something in real time. So because of that, you kind of like lower your inhibitions and you don't care that you make mistakes. So
Yeah.
it's not that you're going yes, you're going to make mistakes, but you're going to feel more confident communicating.
Yeah.
So in that way, it helps a lot. Like for me, I remember when I was living in France, I found it really difficult when I made mistakes in French. I wanted to be 100% perfect. And something that got me out of that is playing Pokemon Go.
Mm.
Because if you've played Pokemon Go before, you know that you have to interact with other people if you want to do raids, if you want to trade Pokemon. And I remember I was out and I saw a group of people and I wanted to do a raid, which is something that was going to happen in 20 seconds. And I didn't care if I mixed up Vu and Tu. I just asked, are you all doing the raid? And I got in with them
Yeah.
and I got into their group chats and I would communicate, where are we meeting? Who is doing this? And I'm sure I made a lot of mistakes, but I was communicating much more because I
Yeah.
was feeling like, well, I want to get the Pokemon, right?
Yes.
So I have
Yeah.
to communicate to get
Yeah.
that to happen.
I'm glad you mentioned making mistakes. One of the points that the blog makes is that in gaming, mistakes don't matter much, and that actually this is helpful when learning English. But what would you say to people who say, well, I don't want to learn English that's full of mistakes? You know, I don't want to get to a job interview and realize that I've learnt an informal English. So actually, mistakes do matter.
Yeah, of course. I think the thing is that it's two different situations, right? So, the thing that gaming can help with is the confidence. So just getting you to start that initial communication. And then if you needed to fine tune for things like you said, like an interview or something like that, obviously you want to have more specific phrases, but it's also not the same context. If I was practicing for interview, I wouldn't play Fortnite because I feel like maybe I can transfer like the logistics of how are we going to attack this group in an interview, right? So I think for me, the idea with gaming is getting past that confidence. And like
Mm.
with adults especially, that's usually the biggest issue. When people come into a class, they say, oh, it's my speaking or it's my grammar. But after a while, you can easily diagnose as a teacher that is just that the confidence.
Mm.
And it's something that in a textbook, you don't have those things. You see grammar, you see speaking skills, but you don't see how to increase your confidence. So for me, it's more about getting out of your head.
Wow, that's really interesting. So using gaming as a tool to increase your confidence in spoken and written English, would you say?
Yeah, because you can communicate in the chat. If you're not into interactive like MMO games and you don't want to play with other people, even small things like you put the subtitles of the game in English
Yeah.
and then you learn new expressions and
Yeah.
things like that. So in terms of written, yes, in terms of vocabulary, and then speaking if you are communicating with other people.
And one last thing, what would you say to skeptics?
You don't know unless you try, right? And you don't have to try for a long time. You could try 5 minutes, see how you feel. And if you're still skeptical or just kind